Let's start with Group C. That's the group that we played in Amsterdam and Bucharest. Ukraine, actually the Pot 1 team out of this group. They'll be joined by the Netherlands, Austria, and then the playoff D winner. One of the incomplete groups here. But boy, if you're the Dutch, you got to be feeling pretty good, no, John?
I think you've got to be feeling really good about that. I mean, that group to me plays out in a reasonably straightforward fashion, which is that the Netherlands qualify, Ukraine are runners-up, and the other two sides in there probably don't get enough points off the other two to be one of the four best third-place teams. So I think Austria are really up against it. They've got a couple of talents in Alaba and Arnautovic. Not enough, though, I think, to threaten the other two at the top of the
list. The thing is, with me, with Austria, they had this very similar going into the Euros in France in 2016. They had a great record in qualification, and they got there and they were a disaster. Again, we talked about the first two, Group A, Group B, Group C. I think if you're looking at the favourites in this group, the Netherlands will be pretty happy with what they've got.
I think this Dutch team is interesting for me primarily because, like Italy, we don't know if they're real yet, do we?
Well, obviously they're a lot, they're a lot better off than they were. I think Ronald Koeman's timed his managerial role well there. They have got good young players coming through. Obviously, Ajax have been, getting to the Champions League final, semi-final as they did. Sold to letting De Jong, obviously, but no, they have.
Who's going to score goals?
Oh, they beat Germany, and not that Germany's the best team at the moment, but they beat Germany in the qualification.
But yours is a good point. Who is going to score the goals? And it is, as we alluded to earlier, it's going to have to be a fair weight of goals from midfield, particularly the likes of Wijnaldum.
Taylor?
I have no idea what you guys were talking about because my microphone wasn't turned on.
Sorry, Netherlands.
I'm just kidding. In all seriousness, you look at it, and I do think that's the best center-back tandem in the world. And I only picture if they had a Ruud van Nistelrooy or someone like that, then we'd be talking about one of this as top four teams in the tournament. Now, they can collectively find a way to score goals, but I do think in the end, the number one topic of discussion at the end of the tournament is going to say they didn't have a person or a collective that could score the goals and put it away. I think it's going to bite them in the end, maybe in a quarterfinal, but it is good to have the Dutch back in a major tournament because we've missed them the last two, and that's a team, especially, let's be honest, 24 teams was set up to avoid the Dutch not making the tournament. Guess what? They're back in it.
If you think back to the Germany game in qualification, just to the point the boys have been talking about in terms of strikers, I remember we were doing the game, and at half-time we sat in the studio and we were saying, where are the goals going to come from Holland in this game to get them back in it and ultimately win it, and which they did. And we said, well, they have to get the goals from the middle of the park. Up steps Wijnaldum, up steps De Jong, because you can't win, in my opinion, you can't win this competition being reliant solely on somebody who's just going to score goals as a striker. I know strikers got all the headlines, but you are going to have players and other parts of your team and other facets of your team that are going to step up. And that's what the Dutch are all about. They're not, although they have got some great individuals, they're not about being an individual team. They've got a pretty good platform in which to build from.
Yeah, they have. And history also shows, Craig's quite right, you can't put all your eggs in having one of these strikers that's going to score the bulk of the goals. I mean, France won the World Cup without one, didn't they? So it's not everything.
What do you mean? That's a bit of a slant on Giroud, is it not?
I was talking about 1998, Stefan Givash, actually.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN+.